Have you ever thought about how we could take one of our oldest activities, gardening, and mash it up with some of the newest tech out there? Well, today we're going to dig into exactly that. We're talking about taking the power of the internet and putting it right into your garden soil. I mean, just think about that for a second. What if that machine turning over your garden bed could actually sense what the soil needs? What if it could report that data straight to your phone and you could control it from, well, anywhere? It sounds a little like science fiction, doesn't it? But it's happening right now. All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll get into the weeds, literally, and talk about the biggest pain point this tech is trying to solve. Then we'll look at this big idea called smart farming. From there, we'll see how engineers actually designed and built a brand new tiller, gave it a brain with the Internet of Things, and finally, we'll zoom out and see what this all means for the future of food. Okay, so first things first. Before you can plant a single seed, you gotta prepare the ground. And honestly, that is usually the toughest, most grueling part of the whole process. It doesn't matter if you have a tiny little vegetable patch in your backyard or a few acres of land. Tilling that soil, pulling out weeds, it is just incredibly demanding physical work. It's a huge hurdle, especially for smaller farmers who depend on this for their livelihood. So you might be thinking, well, what about the tools we already have? And that's a fair point, but they've got some serious drawbacks. For one, a lot of these mini tillers are just way too expensive. Or they need to be plugged in, which last time I checked isn't super convenient in the middle of a field. And even if you have one, you're still wrestling with it manually. All this means that a lack of good, accessible machinery is a major roadblock to getting more done.
So faced with all these problems, a new idea started to take root. Instead of just trying to build a stronger machine, what if we could build a smarter one? And that is the whole idea behind smart farming.
At its core, smart farming is all about using the tech that most of us already have in our pockets. You see, sensors are getting smaller, they're getting more powerful, and they're getting way cheaper. So we can now embed them into farm equipment to collect all sorts of data and even control them from far away. It completely changes the game. And listen, this isn't just some fringe concept. The research we're looking at today says it loud and clear. This tech revolution is seen as the direct answer to the biggest challenges in agriculture today, from labor shortages to just needing to be more efficient. Okay, so it's one thing to have a great idea, but how do you turn that into a real working machine? This isn't just about software. It all starts with some serious old-school engineering. The team behind this project followed a really classic design playbook. First, they had to figure out what people actually needed. Something affordable, easy to move around, and effective. Then they fired up the CAD software, that's computer-aided design, to sketch out some different ideas. After that, they had to pick the best one before they could even think about building a real physical prototype. And here are the two main concepts they came up with. You can see the differences right away. Concept 1 stuck the tiller blade out front and used regular rubber tires, but Concept 2 put the blade in the middle for better balance and swapped the rubber for these tough, serrated metal wheels to get a better grip. The frames were different too, with the second one being designed to be a lot more rigid. So which one made the cut? After running them both through a kind of engineering scorecard, Concept 2 was the clear winner. Why? Well, it was easier to carry, it had a stronger frame, and this is a big one, it would be way simpler and cheaper to actually build. All right, now we get to the really fun part. We've got a solid machine, but how do you give it a brain? This is where the Internet of Things, or IoT, steps in and turns a simple tool into a seriously smart device. So what even is the Internet of Things? The simplest way to think about it is giving everyday objects their own digital senses and a voice. It lets them connect to the internet, talk to each other, and talk to us. It basically connects the physical world of, dirt and steel to the digital world of apps and data. So check this out. You can think of the tiller's smart components as its own little nervous system. The brain is a tiny computer called an Arduino. The senses are a whole bunch of sensors that can measure stuff like how wet the soil is or the humidity. Its connection to the outside world is a Wi-Fi module, and the command center, well, that's an app right on your phone. And this is where the magic of IoT really clicks. All that data from the sensors doesn't just sit on the machine. It gets beamed over the internet and stored in the cloud. That means a gardener or a farmer can check on their soil conditions from literally anywhere on the planet just by pulling out their phone. That's incredible. And for all you gearheads out there, here are the final specs. The whole thing weighs a manageable 20 kilograms, runs on a simple 12-volt system, and those tiller blades spin at 1,000 RPM. These numbers tell us it's strong enough to get the job done, but still small and efficient enough for a home gardener or a small-scale farmer. So, we have this smart, connected tiller, and it's awesome. But this is about so much more than just one cool gadget. This little machine is a signpost pointing toward a massive shift in both technology and agriculture. So let's just recap the big wins here. It's totally controlled by a phone. It gathers super useful data in real time, and crucially, it was built from the start to be low cost, which tackles that huge affordability problem we talked about. It's versatile, and the team even thinks it could create new jobs for young people in rural areas. And that's really the heart of it, isn't it? The most important takeaway here is that projects like this are all about democratizing technology. They're taking the power of smart farming, something that used to be just for huge corporate farms, and putting it right into the hands of small farmers and even regular backyard gardeners. And that kind of leaves us with a pretty wild question to chew on. We've just seen how data and connectivity can completely transform a simple garden tiller. So if our tools are getting this smart, what's next? What other parts of our lives, from the food on our plates to the tech in our homes, are about to get a whole lot smarter?